So, welcome everyone to a best of 5 show match hosted by Capoch, Slam versus Capoch in Empire Wars, a game mode that we haven't seen for a long time. We will have Capoch on the right side in red as Ethiopians, left side will be Slam in blue as Franks. Slam is going to open stable over here, whereas on the other side we will have an arch range opening for Capoch. And this arch range is actually very badly positioned. This range would be perfect over here or perfect over here, but this is an awful spot for it because it kind of blocks this wood line and it's also quite far at the back. Obviously, when you are opening Empire Wars, your vision is very limited. So if you take a look at what Capoch sees, he's got limited vision and that makes it much harder to wall your base. Early spearmen are coming out to defend the base of Capoch against the scout opening of a Slam. I think with Franks, it's very predictable that you open scouts here. So, spearman defense should be the priority for Capoch as we got these first scouts coming in here. Capoch walling off the northern part of his base, nice moves to hit those scouts a couple of times, and his reactions to those scouts seem to be quite decent. So, we will see how much Slam invests into this scout push here. Because reality is that he probably won't be able to accomplish much with the spearmen running around and already walls coming up. Early market from Capoch, something that is somewhat unconventional to Empire Wars over here, as he's trying to find a villager to kill here. Spearman comes in here, and the wall is still open, but now that the spearman is here, you can just drop a house behind and finish the walls in time. I love how Capoch is sending in a couple of vills to the ostriches as well, because that's going to give him a nice little extra food. And it looks like he will focus on just piling up archers back at home and probably going straight into Castle Age. Maybe even selling his stone could be something to consider. It's not necessarily something that you want to do, but if you want to go very aggressive in early Castle Age, selling your stone is something you can consider, although I would much dislike such an approach because that delays your additional TCs. There is a hole there. There's a hole, and that's just a split second too late for Capoch. A little bit of a rusty start here for him, I would say, with that archer range placement and this fairly obvious hole over there. Loses the first wheel of the game, and I did mention that I don't think that Slam is going to be able to accomplish much. I assume that Capoch will be done with his walls by the time the next wave arrives, but that's not really the case, and those are Frankish scouts, so they have the extra HP on them. They might actually be able to commit against free wills here, as once again the quick walls fail here for Capoch. Now, we have to point out that Capoch has been streaming for 10 hours, so one of the reasons why he is possibly a little bit slower than Slam is because Slam just started playing, whereas Capoch has been playing for 10 hours. Obviously, this is completely Capoch's decision. This is his 24-hour stream, so that's the reason why he has been streaming for so long, but he loses 2 more wills, and he ends up selling his stone, so I wasn't wrong about that one. I'm not necessarily a fan of selling stone like this, but if you feel like it can propel you to a better Castle Age time, and you can unleash the crossbows after, it could be a gamble that pays off. With Ethiopians, you can actually go for a super aggressive early Castle Age, so that could be something to consider, like an early fast ballistics, and 1 TC crossbowman and then siege workshop type of a play. Another will goes down here for Capoch. And at this stage, the problem is that even though he sold his stone, he lost so many wills that if you compare it to the Frankish player that had the berry bonus and so, and he was able to add so many farms early on compared to Capoch, it will add up to the fact that I don't think that Slam is going to be behind by more than 30 seconds or so. And now we already have skirms coming in here for Slam. He could harass those lumberjacks a little bit, or just pick off the spearman. Capoch will be fully walled. By the time the skirms arrive, the spearmen will definitely go down to the skirmishers here. They have nowhere to go. But this actually tells Capoch that his opponent is going for skirms. And in these situations, you have to add a stable if you're Ethiopians as well. So, you see the skirms, you probably have to add the stable for a couple of nights. Alternative would be a siege workshop, but you need a forward position for that. Slam is going to stop making skirms here, and he will just go for double stable knights. One of the nice things that you get with Ethiopians here is that you get the free pikeman upgrade, and I would love to see Capoch actually using that advantage. Add 2 or 3 spearmen, even though he won't necessarily be able to afford much, but even if he adds 2 or 3 spears, if those are upgraded to pikemen, they actually are a very useful force to help out the crossbows against the knights. such a small difference can be extremely important. One of the reasons why Ethiopians is a very good early Castle Age aggressive civilization is because you can just go for that free pikeman, and you can accompany your archers with that to make it harder for the cavalry player to pick them off. +1 defense just now coming in here for Slam, and he's still 50 seconds away from Castle Age. This is the window that Capoch has been waiting for. And for now, I think Slam is going to be able to hold this one with the skirms, or at least slow down those crossbows. Crossbow now coming in. Ballistics is something that Capoch will think about. Indeed, here comes University, and he will be able to afford ballistics without problems. And it looks like he's prioritizing Boso over Botkin Arrow. That kind of contradicts everything that he has done so far, because I would have thought that if he's playing this aggressive, like fast ballistics, Cellstone to go up to the next stage, I would have thought that he prioritizes Botkin Arrow over Boso, but as I said, his window kind of disappeared here because he lost so many villas that it delayed his Castle Age timing, and now Slam is gonna go Elite Skirm, rushes up a town center over here in an effort to try and make sure that his gold mine doesn't get pushed. Skirm's coming from the back, so if this TC goes up, and this is gonna be so close. I think the TC will go up, but 1 or 2 villas might die here for Slam. He's gonna have to juke around a little bit. Ballistics not in just yet, and 1 villa goes down. But honestly, this is a good fight for Slam here. Because, yeah, sure, he lost 1 vill, but in exchange, he will destroy the entire army of his opponent. And remember that Capoch went for a super military-heavy approach here. So he sold his stone, didn't make any additional TCs. Losing all those crossbows hurts so much, and now you see that Capoch has to buy his stone back here to be able to start adding TCs. You already have 2 TCs for Slam here, and he also has heavy blow thanks to being Franks. Right now it's even villager count, but Slam does have wheelbarrows, so that accounts for like 3 villas or so, and Knight and Elite Skirm would definitely be something that Capoch has a hard time fighting against. He's still full on crossbows, but he at least needs mangonels to deal with those Elite Skirms. Otherwise, he's gonna have no shot at dealing with them. He might find a will or 2 here on this wood line with the crossbows, but this army is probably gone for him. +2 defense in for the Knights, they will clean this up. And we'll be talking about like probably 15 army at max for Capoch. Slam actually going to see those crossbows in a moment. He tries to get a TC up over there, but that will be delayed. No villas lost just yet. Nice moves from Slam to save those. Loses the first one. A little bit of a slow reaction from him here as he loses 2 more. He needs to start adding a couple of Elite Skirms here to defend. But it looks like he will just send in the Knights. His Knights also overcommitted against the base of Capoch, so he will lose 1 of those. The last 1 or so minute wasn't that great for Slam. He still technically has 3 villas lead because of that wheelbarrow, and he also has heavy plow, which obviously helps in the long run as well. Capoch buys 100 more stone for additional town centers, so he will be on free as well. But Slam already finished all 3 of his town centers, and he's booming with a very, very steady food eco. Whereas for Capoch, I feel like he doesn't have the food eco to make free TCs work. We're talking about 11 farms only for our red player. Forward Siege Workshop from Capoch, so he will actually try to be a little bit more aggressive here. A monastery will be added to convert knights. For now, I love this move for Slam. Leaving 1 skirm at the back of the wood line will actually harass the villas here. And a couple of skirms are trying to poke and probe around the gold mine. And I wonder how Capoch wants to clean this one up, because he doesn't really have a direct answer to these skirms here, and they will be annoying. Here, big fight on the right side, though this is a nice fight for Capoch. He picks 2 knights off, and even though he lost his forward will, that is a satisfactory engagement for him. You see that he even cancels the monastery and then rebuilds it elsewhere, with 3 more wills being pulled. He's now adding a pikeman. I like that quite a bit. As I said, with Ethiopians, you're gonna use that free pikeman bonus. Get a couple of pikes out. The biggest problem with any civilization when it comes to pikemen is that the pikeman upgrade itself is fairly expensive in early Castle Age. It's like 215 food and 90 gold or so. So that's not something that you really want to invest into unless absolutely necessary. But Ethiopians get it for free. So all you have to do is just spend a bit of food and a bit of wood on the units themselves, and suddenly you have something that helps quite a bit cleaning up those knights. Obviously, skirms can still pick them off, but 3 or 4 pikemen being mixed in here can definitely be something that helps for Capoch. Capoch takes the hill to try and take down the town center, and it will end up being a 1-for-1 trade. The bigger concern for Capoch, as I said, is that he's got no answer to those knights, and this seems like a cleanup here from Slam as he closes the distance with the elite skirms. In fact, this is a brutal cleanup here. The best thing that Capoch can hope for is that he takes down a couple of knights, but beautiful surround from Slam, and that is an absolute massacre. Capoch loses his entire army over here, and he currently seems to have zero army that can answer Slam, because Slam can continue to play with elite skirms, and while Frankish elite skirms are kind of underwhelming, there is a lot of options for Slam to close out this game before that starts mattering in Imperial. Free wheels here should go down to Capoch, but Slam doesn't care. Slam just left free wheels here. What the hell, man? He could have killed free wheels here so easily, and these guys would just run around. What happened to Slam here? This is probably the first game of the day for him, so I don't blame him for being a little sloppy, but that was definitely very, very awkward. That would have been minus 3 wheels, and those are forward wheels that could still try to make additional buildings here on the front line, so you really want to get rid of those. Capoch takes the hill here. You do not have +2 defense for Slam, which means that those elite skirms still die to crossbows that have the hill advantage. The hold here is actually pretty nice for Capoch. If you are Slam, you could make a case for sending wheels to stone and thinking about an early forward castle, because if you take a look at Capoch's base, he's got a gold here, he's got a gold here, and he's got a gold here. Slam right now has ultimate map control. Slam can, if Slam drops a castle somewhere around over here, he can control 2 gold mines, and with the cheaper Frankish castles, that shouldn't be a big deal for him to do. Indeed, he's now sending wheels to stone, indeed. And we will also have 3 stables now for him. A monastery will be added for some relic collection, most likely maybe even healing the knights could be on the mind of Slam here. And it's actually stable number 3, as Slam wants to go into Imperial. He has had an untouched food eco for most of the game, and that's not something to underestimate. So that actually means that he's gonna be able to click into Imperial, and it looks like Slam has a very, very good start over here, as now the knights flood in. I don't think that Slam wants to overcommit to this one. In fact, his army numbers aren't really looking amazing, but from this point on, Slam will just focus on massing knights, and when he reaches Imperial, he will just click +4 defense and Cavalier, and he will be able to force a fight on this gold mine. He will just right-click this part of the wall, and the Cavaliers will finish the rest. So, clock is ticking really badly for Capoch because he's nowhere close to Imperial. He's mining stone quite heavily, so I feel like Capoch might be thinking about moving out with an aggressive crossbow play and trying to secure a forward castle, but that might be a little too late already. Slam trying to get some more blacksmith upgrades in before Imperial. One thing that I dislike heavily for Slam is that he only has 8 on gold, although some of his wheels are just making a TC here, so one of the reasons why is because he was building a TC with some of those wheels, but even 18 on gold feels a little underwhelming for 4 stables knight production, especially for early Imperial Age when you need a lot of resources for the +4 defense and Cavalier. And look at those wheels. These are the wheels that Slam actually left alive, and they will make a TC here for Capoch on that extra gold mine. Capoch also TCing this gold mine, and Capoch is getting closer to clicking up to Imperial, but he will still be at least 3 minutes behind, which seems like a massive difference. The good news for Capoch is that Slam's army isn't huge. We're talking about, what, 15 or so Cavalier soon? I like how Slam is healing up his units, but it's not like Slam will be able to snowball the game with a huge amount of heavy cavalry because he just doesn't have the numbers. Whereas for Capoch, he has a reasonable amount of crossbows. Both players at a very, very close wheel count. Imperial Age is in, and this is the moment where I think Capoch has got to withdraw. The problem is that he just revealed his army, so Slam knows exactly that he is there, and he will start chasing with Mangonels and Cavaliers. In fact, it looks like he actually wants to sandwich those in between his forces. Look at this move from Slam. He knows that the crossbows will be running back home, so he sends the knights from this direction, and he sends the Mangonel from the other. He's trying to sandwich that army in between his troops, and this could be the perfect timing for Slam. He might even have the hill for this fight. And Capoch clicked up, but this is a disaster fight for Capoch, and the only good news for him is that the Mangonel hasn't reached him just yet, but I don't think that Capoch can keep this army alive for 3 minutes. I would expect Capoch to lose this entire army, although it looks like Slam is actually abandoning this fight, or so it seems. He's waiting for +4 defense right now, and that is Justin. Cavalier will come in as well. And when this Mangle arrives, I feel like Capoch will lose this entire army. He tries his best to split away, but this is gonna be a cleanup here. No matter what you do, I feel like the timing of his attack was just very, very unfortunate for him, because if he just stayed back at home, it would have been much harder for Slam to clean up that entire army, but now Capoch is an imp, or he will soon be an imp, but he will be at 11 army overall. That is exactly what Slam wanted to achieve with the early imp. That's what you take your gamble on. You click into Imperial early on, which means you're more vulnerable to a Castle Age attack, but in exchange, you will have the power spike in Imp, and now these wheels are getting cleaned up here alongside this town center, and now we're talking about good Cavalier numbers for a Slam. He's got a castle up. I'm not sure if he already brought in Chivalry, but this is the moment where Capoch will just start losing wheels here big time. This castle will eventually go up, and Capoch also secured the castle here as he's teching into 4 Halberdiers. The problem for Halberdier play here is that Slam can switch into throwing X-Men anytime. He's going to open with Chivalry for the time being, and he will just try to use the mobility advantage that he has. Another castle comes in at a crucial point on the left side, and well, Slam might not be able to contest that other neutral gold mine, but at this point, Capoch is looking at a 7 army count. He's an imp, but this pretty much seals the deal. Slam taking game number 1, and really, there were 2 things here for Slam. Number 1, he was able to do much more damage in Feudal Age than he should have had. Capoch was voting heavily, however, he still lost like 4 wheels in Feudal, which obviously is not something that you really want to have. On the other side, the other thing was just that very unfortunate timing for Capoch with the attack, because he revealed his army's position in the moment that Slam raged Imperial. And from that point, Slam knew exactly that he needs to fight this one with imp units against Castle Age units, and he was able to keep track of that army and destroy it. And when this army was gone, the chances of Capoch went down to basically 0. Look at this. This fight and this other fight, if you remember this is the fight where Slam was able to clean up all the crossbows with the Elite Skirms. So 2 critical fights here, in fact 3 of them. If you think about it, you can just clearly tell that the problem for Capoch was that he wasn't able to keep his army alive for most of the game. He get to reasonable army numbers, lost a fight. Once again, reasonable army numbers, loses a big fight, he climbs back and then loses another big fight, so he constantly had to replenish his army, whereas Slam had always had a steady army count overall throughout the game. So Slam takes game number 1, 97 kills, 39 deaths. Obviously part of that comes from the fact that he has had knights, so obviously you will kill less knights than crossbows. In general, army highs were pretty close. Slam, however, 4,000 more resources, despite the fact that the 2 players had completely... Well, at the end, you do have a 10 villagers lead for Slam here, but that's not something that was huge after all. Most of the time, the 2 players had very, very close ecos, but still, obviously, the fact that Slam has had the heavy blow for entire Castle Age helps quite a lot. So, this means that we are going back to the lobby, and more importantly to the draft here. So Franks are gone for Slam. He has won game number 1 with that. Ethiopian's gone for Capoch, and now we're going to the first home map of Capoch here, I assume, which is going to be a Red Bull Vololo map, and it's gonna be winged, it seems. So on winged, I would assume Bulgarians being picked, and I think that Japanese could be an idea for winged. Maybe Saracens or Teutons as well, but Bulgarians definitely have a very, very nice edge going for them on winged, because you are just able to go for the men-at-arms opening so fast, and it's pretty hard to deal with. So you probably want a fast archer civilization. Even Mayans could be something to consider here. Although I think Japanese feels more natural. So you could also make a couple of militias and upgrade them to men-at-arms. Obviously, you have to invest into the upgrade, but this might be a way to deal with the men-at-arms play of Bulgarians. I think Bulgarians is almost guaranteed on this map. There is alternatives like potentially Persians, but I think it's gonna be Bulgarians. We have game number 2 up, and it's Bulgarians versus Mayans. So indeed, it looks like the way Slam wants to counter the Men-at-Arms opening is through archers. We will have to flip the colors because apparently the players switched. So we'll go back to the original colors that we had in the first game. Slam will be playing blue Mayans on the right side, and left side is going to be Capoch in red as Bulgarians. This is the reason why I pick Bulgarians here. This is a map where you spawn very close to your opponent. The map is called Winged, and it has a wing shape. Basically, this map was exclusively made for Red Bull Vololo because of the Red Bull gives you wings slogan, and because of that you kind of need a wing shape map, so to say. Here comes the first archer for Slam here. The first man-at-arms comes in already. I love the move from Capoch to be able to snipe down that eagle early on, but it looks like Slam is going to add the second eagle, and that's something that you can do when you're playing with a Meso civilization. In fact, in Empire Wars, when you play a Meso civ, you always want to add archers and eagles at the same time, because the eagles will allow you to deal with the opponent's archers and or skirmishers a lot easier, so it's great to soak up damage. Now, the thing is that if this wasn't Bulgarians, eventually you would switch into full eagles, most likely in Castle Age. But that's not really going to happen here against Bulgarians, because Bulgarians can always add longswordsmen in Castle Age, so I think the Mayan player is going to have to be heavy on the archer front, and so far this Meta-Arms opening seems to work well. Those archers do have fletching now, but still the Men-at-Arms are here to soak up some damage. It looks like Slam will be able to hold this one for now. So on Winged, you have a lot of gold in the middle here, and you also have a pond for fishing. This time neither of the players are going for fish. From what I have experienced in Red Bull Vololo 3, most of the time the players go for fishing, but in this case, probably because of the aggressive nature of these civilizations at the beginning, neither of the players deemed it reasonable to go for a very, very aggressive opening. And I can justify that. I can totally justify that, to be honest. So it looks like we have double ranges for Capoch. But the problem with Bulgarians here is that they don't have crossbowmen. So you don't want to go full archers. Most likely, if you are Capoch, you are thinking in the dimensions of Elite Skirm and Longsword, potentially. Even then, you will need some sort of siege, but you have to have longswords on the field or knights to deal with eagles, but you also have to have something that deals with archers. So something like that, longsword skirm could be a solution, although you're still exposed to scorpions or mangonels in that case. So it's a tricky civilization setup overall here for a red player. We get a dock coming up here for Capoch though, so he's gonna go for a much more eco-heavy approach here. Being able to drop a dock like that allows him to add some extra eco, and that's going to show its effect in like middle Castle Age, but it leaves him with less resources to spend an army in feudal, so he's gotta be careful not to get overrun in feudal age, because the fishing eco at the beginning is a big investment that needs some time to return its value. It looks like Slam is also thinking about adding some fish himself, so both players are actually playing with similar mindset here on this map. For now, we have 9 farms for a Bulgarian player and 10 for a Slam. Random man-at-arms running around, doing a bit of a scouting here around the base of Slam, as he now dives in with his own skirmishers, trying to take some of those archers down, and he does so. So far, it is a bit of a poking and probing type of a fight here. Neither of the players commit to like a full-scale aggression of any sort, but Slam has got to be careful because his gold mine is quite exposed. His ranges are close to reinforce, but still, he can't afford to lose this gold mine here, because without that gold mine, he basically has no backup gold. As you see, there's very, very little gold scattered across the map, but within your own base, this is your only gold, so you gotta be real careful not losing that, and he's gonna have to add a couple more skirmishers to deal with this aggression. For now, he's gonna be fine, because it's only skirmishers, and this is the moment where Slam should be adding eagles, and he isn't doing so. So, as I mentioned, when you go for a Meso-Civ play here, it's ideally always archers and eagles, because the eagles allow you to deal with skirmishers very, very easily. Capoch clicks up to Castle Age first. Slam will soon follow. He's gonna have to rush up a market to do this, because he's floating a bit of a goal. That Men-at-Arms will delay that market by a narrow margin. And the real question is the tech switch here for Capoch, and it looks like he will go for knights and probably elite skirms for the time being. Techs into skateboarding. He has skipped Horse Color, which is not ideal for his farming eco, but he has fishing eco in exchange, although it seems like it's actually getting burned down here by Slam. Slam actually is losing that fire galley fight here, so he's gonna have to withdraw. A second fire galley is on the way for Slam, but Slam is doing a nice job contesting the fishing eco of his opponent, although as long as these fishing ships are actually working, this is already a big advantage for Capoch. So yeah, Slam is attacking this, but is he even attacking? He's got water presence, but these fishing ships are still pretty much untouched, and that means that they can just keep bringing in food, adding a bit to the economy for Capoch. So Capoch is gonna have a nice advantage from that. Slam actually loops around with 2 archers, tries to deny additional docks from being dropped, then he will be successful at doing so. Slam actually is starting to add a bit of a walls over here. He might even wall to the water eventually, but for now he just wants to limit the surface area where he can be attacked at. Now it's going to be another fire galley diving in, but once again Slam is just going to lose these, and the thing is that Slam is trying to fight on water, but he isn't really able to. Loses a fire galley over here, and now Capoch has once again a pretty much untouched fishing eco, a better Castle Age timing. Capoch went super aggressive, by the way, in Feudal. I'm just noticing he even skipped double bit axe. He just finished with that, but the fishing eco is going to help him get the knight numbers out here, and those early knights can be very, very devastating against Slam, who barely has anything to stop those. Slam has 8 archers with +1 attack and +1 defense. Most of those are skirms, and these knights do have +1/+1, although they're missing the +2 defense. Nice quick walls here for Slam, trying to limit the movement of those knights. The knights could still find a couple of wheels over here, and this should be the first villager casualty here for Slam, although it looks like he's able to quick wall everything out. Very, very nice quick walls here for Slam to protect all his eco. He's up to Castle Age, and when crossbows kick in for Slam, suddenly he's gonna have no problem defending against those knights. The knights are missing +2 defense, so crossbows with Botkin should be able to hold them back pretty nicely. Additional town centers are being dropped by Capoch though, and oh my goodness, look at this! Cheaper Bulgarian town centers. This is the plan for him. On this map, you don't have a lot of stone. In fact, you don't have stone at your starting base. You have stone here around the lake. So it looks like the Bulgarians with the cheaper stone cost on the TCs will have an easier time dropping TCs. And the idea for Capoch is that he wants to just drop town centers on all gold mines that Slam has access to. Because this way, he denies this gold mine for Slam, and he does so with the middle gold mines as well. That's a very, very good play here for Capoch. It is so good that I feel like this is something that could have been a thing in a Red Bull tournament, and I'm a little bit disappointed that Capoch has shown this strategy, because this is one of those strategies that could have been a nice secret strat for a Red Bull event. Anyways, we're gonna have TCs going up here, and which means that these gold mines will be inaccessible for Slam, and Slam doesn't have a huge amount of gold overall to work with. Capoch still has the fishing eco rolling, so that means that he right now has an almost 10 villagers lead. Forward siege workshop on the way. Is all gold visible? I don't think so. It's not all visible by any means. He sees this other gold mine here, but he doesn't really have the tools to contest that at this time, and there is also some extra gold here. Still, he's limiting the best available gold mines of Slam. Eventually, you will have to move to the middle here, so that's something to consider as well. Slam is on 2 TCs, his opponent will be on 4 TCs soon, so a big, big boom coming in here for Capoch. it looks like he's not mining any stones, so he's not thinking on the scales of creposts or castles or so. It looks like we'll have monks being added by Slam to try and battle the knights. For now, Capoch is just going for full knights play, still missing +2 defense overall. He's got +1/+1, but I would assume that he will now start focusing on mangonels, and Mayans don't have a great answer to mangonels. Well, obviously they can go eagles, but they are the only Mezzos with no redemption on their monks, so as things stand, Slam can only make his own mangonels deal with those mangoes, because adding eagles won't help, as the knights would just kill those eagles before they would be able to kill the mangonels. So you probably want to add your own siege workshop, and that's exactly what Slam is doing. Slam adding his TC on the other accessible gold mine. There is a couple of skirms here for Capoch, so he will know about that one. I love this move from Capoch. Look at this. He knows exactly that his opponent is adding a TC there. And I would be massively surprised if he didn't send some of his knights around there. A monastery comes in here for Capoch to heal his knights, but it also allows him to pick up relics, because all the relics are across this lake. So you can just pick those relics up so easily, and now he's mining stone with 6, which means that the forward castle is not a distant dream anymore. Or even a forward crepost could be something, although I think if he castles the middle, that would actually make life very hard for Slam, because Slam's got limited amount of gold to work with. He still has a reasonable amount, but clock is ticking for Slam, and it looks like Slam is just going for the fire galleys inside his dock, trying to make sure that he has the critical mass before he's able to move out. And this fire galley is actually not killing this wheel, so the repair wheel here is still alive. Now the fire galleys pop out, and Capoch will actually fight them. It's still better numbers for him overall, but there's a 4th fire galley coming in here for Slam. No war galley upgrade for either side, and repairs are coming in now for Slam. So I think Slam should be able to win this fight over here. But simultaneously, he's getting his town center pushed over here, takes down one mangonel from Capoch, and the second mangonel won't go down for Capoch, tries a ground attack and misses the target. For the time being, Capoch still has a crazy eco, though 89 wheels compared to 62, and even if he loses this fishing eco, he's gonna have a crazy wheel advantage. So I think this is the moment where Capoch might even be able to afford giving up on water soon, because he's got a so strong land eco, although I'm not impressed by Capoch's food income. He needs to send 15, well, maybe not 15, but 10 wheels on food. He's got way too many on wood, and not enough on food. So he needs to take basically these wheels and add farms with them, because he's floating a lot of wood. Adds a 5th TC here in the middle, and now we got a crepost as well. He's all about just securing map control and cornering Slam within his own base. The repair wheel finally goes down. It looks like Capoch will add a couple more fire galleys to deal with this fire galley aggression. He has gotten +2 defense as well, and I'm wondering what Slam has on his mind, because the thing is that Slam could try imping to go for Arbalest. He will never be able to get a castle up because he just doesn't have control over stone mines. You need to have some control at this lake for some stone. Slam using the market very heavily indeed. He wants to go into Imp. That's probably his best shot here, going into Imp and Arbalest. But even after that, he doesn't have any siege. That's the main problem. That it's not like he makes a castle back at home, gets a trap out, and starts trapping these things down here. There's quite a lot of monks here for Slam, so she should be able to keep those knights away. 1-for-1 trade after all for the 2 players. How many TCs is that for Capoch? That's TC number 6 now coming in on the stone mine. So he's really heavy on TCs. I really dislike how low he's on food still though. He's at 101 wheels and only 29 on food. That feels really disappointing to me. He could easily send 10 wheels from wood to food, because he won't have a very good imp timing if he doesn't do that. Now let's see if he actually takes this fight here, because such a fight would be disaster for Slam, who needs to preserve those numbers to go up into Imperial. Slam at 69 wheels, nice for him, and he's out of this gold mine. This gold mine still has a reasonable amount of gold. Look at this peaceful moment. Aw, feels good, man. Okay, The skirm is now gone. So, let's look back in the fights in the middle. We got a Capoch stop as well for Capoch. Surprising that he's not even going for a single castle. I don't necessarily think that Capoch will be that strong once we get to later stages of the game. Slam's still balancing his eco really heavily, but he's gonna have to get something going soon. Another conversion comes in here for Slam. So he's keeping those knights away nicely, and he's gonna be up to Imperial. So this is still not completely over. Capoch will click into Imp right now, but Slam is gonna have like a 3 minutes window or so. The tricky thing is surviving those knights for 3 minutes. He's gonna have to make sure he doesn't lose these monks, because those monks are his guarantee. What? That was awkward from Capoch. He almost mangled his own knights. So he needs to preserve these archer numbers, because these are not amazing numbers. We're talking about 26. He will be able to afford Bracer. Surprisingly though, he's going for Handcart instead of Arbalest, and I would think that Arbalest Bracer is his best bet. Capoch picking up all the relics around the lake to a forward monastery that he could potentially lose. I think that the main problem for Slam right now is that he's unable to drop any castles, and he doesn't have any siege. So he has 2 battering rams, but by the time he gets reasonable damage done with them, his opponent will be Imp, and he's gonna have Cavalier or even better Conics here, and it looks like now Capoch will switch fully to Conic. He still needs a castle because he wants to grab Stirrups, both for his Cavalier and both for his Conics. He's 18 on stone. Capoch is 32 on stone, man. What on the earth is this? This map has a huge amount of stone compared to standard maps, 2 more conversions for Slam on those Conics. So this map has an awful lot of stone, so you can spam Capochs everywhere, like literally everywhere, and this could be a great fight here for Slam, although he is still missing Thumb Ring, so most of the shots are missing. 40 seconds away is Capoch from Imp, but he still needs some time for plate barring. He needs some time until he gets Cavalier, because I think he needs Cavalier here as well. There's a bit of a window here for Slam. I just don't know what he's going to do without any kind of siege, as a couple of villas go down here thanks to Capoch's Capoch. Castle comes in here for Capoch in the middle of the food eco, knows that those ARPs could be hitting his base any moment, but I think this castle goes up, and when that castle goes up, Stirrups will be a thing as well. Imperial Agent for Capoch, going for +4 defense after a bit of an eco balancing, and I think Cavalier is still something he has to go for, because even though he's going for full Conic, I think having 16 knights on the field justifies getting the Cavalier upgrade. Still, it looks like he won't go for that. He's just going for kept rams. And speaking of kept rams, he doesn't have any rams on the field for now. The castle is up. So if he wants to go full Conic though, he needs to prioritize the Stirrups upgrade really fast here, because that's almost essential to Conics. For now, Slam is gonna be able to hold his base, but he's behind by 50 vills. Capoch is at 1.2k stone in the bank with 40 on stone. Capoch could be spamming castles everywhere across the map. All Capoch needs to do is just make 4 castles here, and Slam never has access to gold. In fact, Slam is running out of accessible gold soon, as Capoch did a nice job raiding this gold mine. So at this point, I feel like Capoch will just starve Slam out of gold. Still no Stirrups for a red player over here, but he's got a reasonable amount of Conics now. Mobility advantage is also on his side. There's a couple of kept rams here for Slam, but that's basically all. Here comes Stirrups for our red player, and we will soon just have those Conics raiding the hell out of the eco of Slam. Capoch is also on 4 relics, and he could pick up the 5th one very easily, so it's one thing that we're talking about the 50 vills lead. We also talk about the 4 relics lead, so Capoch's resource income is just way better, and with this much stone in the bank, he can just spam castles everywhere and just make sure that his opponent is starved out of gold before, you know, just dying basically. So Cavalier, after all, will be resurged by Capoch here. A little bit late, looks like he wanted to prioritize Stirrups for now. Nice quick walls for Slam overall, as he is going to be well defended here. The problem is that he's losing the front of his base. For now, it's only Creposts being dropped by Capoch, but I think that he could do the exact same thing with castles, because he's got so many of them. or so much stone in the bank. And it looks like now the Knights are considering committing against this one, but then they see the Arbs and they will just withdraw for the time being. A couple of wheels will go down here to the Conics, but eventually they don't accomplish much. And for now, I think Capoch will just go for a little bit more of a defensive approach. This archer is still alive here, harassing wheels. As I mentioned that, it's gonna go down in a matter of moments. And for the time being, we will just wait until Capoch masses his big army, waits for a lead Conic, which is coming in right now. And I think that he could definitely start adding rams as well. He researched kept ram, and indeed he is adding more rams. I love how he's dropping castles around the lake, because I did mention that the only way Slam gets siege weapons is if he gets castles, or, well, obviously he could go rams, but the cavalry will just destroy the rams here, so he kind of needs trebs. But trebs will not be accessible for him because he doesn't have any stone, and Capoch is just castle rushing him right now, as Slam will probably call the GG here pretty soon, because he's gonna get sandwiched in between 5 castles in the next 1 or so minute. He might be able to stop this one as Siege Ram now comes in here for Slam. This is a nice choke point for him. Might be an overextension from Capoch. He's gotta be careful because there are 4 monks here in a narrow choke point, and this might have been an overly ambitious move here for Capoch because I don't see him winning this fight. He might be taking an okay engagement and taking down the opponent's orb numbers, but indeed this might have been a bit of an overextension, although that doesn't change the fact that this castle still goes up, and I feel like his eco is so much better than Slam's eco. We're talking about a 70 will lead, that he can afford to take such inefficient engagements because he will still have the ability to replenish his army. So as good as Slam played in the first game, I think Capoch played way better in this one. Very aggressive early on, but then transitioned into a very good boom. It might even have been a bit of a greedy boom, but he wasn't really punished for that because Slam never really had the siege that was required to push those town centers, and Bulgarians show their power on this map, not just because of the man-at-arms opening, but also the cheaper town centers helped so much, and I loved how Capoch secured map control and the foothold here on the front with a town center, because a town center is a tough beast to take down, so you can actually consider this as a very strong and hard to take down forward base. That's exactly what we saw. So this means that we got 2 games done, and we will move into the draft screen once again. Bulgarians are gone for Capoch, and Mayans are gone for Slam. And now we're going to Slam's home map, which will be... see. What is going to be Slam's home map? No game up just yet, so we don't know yet, but I would think that 4 Lakes is one of those possibilities. I think Habub is in the map pack. Winged was played. Maybe Lowland is in the map pack. We still have Aztecs available for Capoch and Britons, so 2 of his strongest civilizations are still available, whereas Slam's got Huns. If it's 4 Lakes, it could be Huns or Japanese against potentially Persians. That could be a very interesting setup. Could go either way. As it looks like they're now setting up game number 3 here, and we're going to Habub. So, Habub it is the only map in the history of competitive Age of Empires that has its name censored inside the game. So, this is the map where Gamer Legion players actually used Britons very frequently in Red Bull 3. I would assume that the original plan for Slam for this map was Magyars, but that's not going to be a possibility, so maybe Teutons or Huns can be a reasonable alternative to that. You have to expect Britons, although Aztecs could also be a possibility here. Maybe even Slavs, but I think it could end up being something like Teutons or Slam. But no matter how I look at his civs, I feel like he doesn't really have a good answer to Britons. I would assume it's going to be Britons, but it's not guaranteed, as I said. It could be any of the civs for Capoch with the exception of Persians, honestly. Enough of speculations, though. Let's move into Haboob, and it's going to be Britons versus Teutons coming in here. This is one of the reasons why I felt that Capoch's draft seems to be a little bit better over here. So the thing is that Teutons actually struggle quite badly at dealing with Britons because they lack mobility. They have the brute force power, but I feel like if Britons get to a reasonable amount of crossbows, it's going to be awfully hard for Teutons to clean them up. So here for Teutons, you gotta be very aggressive with your scouts. I would think that you might even need to open straight skirmishers if you are Slam, because you know the archers are coming. So I think you open straight skirms, and then once you get to Castle Age, you start adding stables for knights, and then you actually go for like a knight and skirm approach. That could work nicely. Anything else, I don't feel like Teutons have the chance to match Britons. Oops. It looks like Capture Age is having a bit of a rough time over here, so it will require a restart from my side. We'll jump into game number 3 in a matter of moments. Yeah, a lot of people get debated by my Windows sounds, but it's... Whenever you hear a Windows sound, on my stream, it's probably Capture Age dying on me. That's the most likely scenario. So we're gonna have to restart Capture Age, and then we jump into game number 3. We're going into Haboob, and we're gonna have a Teutons versus Britons matchup. What's up with Capture Age here? Hello? Capture Age feels like I'm not connecting to the internet. I highly doubt I'm not connecting to the internet because I'm streaming. We might need to do this without Capture Age, because it seems like Capture Age has pretty much died on me. I am extremely disappointed. Yeah, it looks like Capture Age is dead. An interesting turn of events, I have to say. Which means that we're gonna have to do this the good old-fashioned way and just cast from within the game. Apologies for the inconvenience, I don't even have the big font mod on. We're gonna have Britons for Capoch in what is actually going to... Oh boy. We can either do green or blue. Wait a second, I think we can do... Yeah, this is the way that we are gonna do it, so it actually matches the colors. So, Capture Age has died on me, and it looks like it is just unable to start right now. So we're gonna actually have to do it from within the game. We will have Slam on the right side as Teutons in blue, left side will be Capoch as Britons in red. It has been a while since I casted with the vanilla game, and you see that I don't even have the mod that increases the font size over here, so... Sorry for that, I wasn't expecting to be forced to cast without Capture Age here. So, you're gonna have Capoch's Britons here on the left side. As expected, you're gonna have the archers out, whereas on the other side, early skirmishers coming in here for Slam. So, he knows exactly the archers are coming, yet he's still open with scouts. I can justify that because you can have some mobility to try and pick off some vills, and maybe try and pick off some early archers. But after all, he's going to end up with skirms. Actually, he's making archers. Good news, I actually get Capture Age back on track, so welcome back to the land of Capture Age. So, we got archers coming in here for Slam. An unexpected turn of events, so to say, because I don't think that you want to mix in archers if you are Teutons versus Britons, but Slam actually wants to go for the famous and well-renowned Teutonic archers in this one. For now, it looks like an early armor is coming in here for Capoch, so he wants to have +1/+1 of those archers early. A second range is on the way for our red player. Archers out for Slam, alongside a couple of scouts as well. So the thing is that in this case for Slam, all he wants to do is just pick off spearmen with the archers, and then join the fight with his scouts. You see that he's diving in with the scouts after the spearman has been damaged. Nice micro from Capoch though, picking off the archers and then taking this engagement, and I feel like it would have been just so much easier for Slam to just play skirms here. I don't understand why he's really trying to force scouts and archers build against Britons, because spear and archer is much easier to control, especially with Britons. Britons will also overrun you with archer numbers because they have the faster working ranges, so trying to match the Briton archer production, or at least even be competitive against that, feels like a very, very underwhelming thought, and I don't like the game plan here for Slam, not gonna lie. Loses one farm to the archers. That's already a nice one for Capoch there. And now he's adding skirms, but this is just too late. This is just way too late here for Slam. He doesn't have an answer right now to those archers, although scaleboarding can definitely help out quite a bit here. But with two spearmen supporting, I feel like this might not be enough for Slam to clean this one up. Archers, luckily for Slam, are not heading to his wood line for the time being. They're trying to harass the farming eco. And speaking of farming eco, Slam's got a very, very well-established farming eco. He's already at 16 farms. So, we're gonna have one skirm going down here. A bit of a miss micro there from Capoch trying into the TC fire with the spears. Will count slightly better for Slam here because Capoch had more TC idle time, but Slam has a lot of will idle time here. Look at this. Free Will's idle for so long. And a market comes in here for Slam. I wonder why. He's very, very low on food despite having so many farms out because he's got so many idols. And it looks like he will launch a counterattack. But once again, I feel like, especially this little base here, for Capoch with the gate, will just make him able to protect those gold miners initially from the archers, whereas, from the scouts, the archers will be able to shoot over those walls, as the archers will not be able to engage Slam's wood line here. The tunnelling tower allows him to jump into the tower with 10 wheels, helps quite a bit at protecting the wheels. That might have been the thought process behind picking this civ, and now the scouts actually open up the gate, and this could be a disaster for Capoch here. These scouts only have +1 defense on them, but I think the damage has already been done. One wheel goes down, two wheels go down over here, and the archers are actually here now to clean this one up, but that's a disaster for Capoch. I was waiting if this gate is actually going to backfire Capoch, and it seems like it was. After all, Slam kills 4 wheels, and Capoch only did so with 2. However, Capoch also actually forced 2 defensive towers from Slam, whereas he himself made 0 defensive towers, and he's still at 14 archers going into Castle Age, whereas Slam isn't. So this is the moment where, yeah, sure, Slam's gonna have a slight eco lead, but this map is a fairly aggressive map. You're very, very close to your opponent, so the early Castle Age could actually translate into early crossbows, obviously, and could snowball the game. So this is a map where you can definitely snowball with a better Castle Age timing, but if you make mistakes like that, that wouldn't actually work out. That is a massive disaster for Capoch there. He needs to preserve his archer numbers. That's -8 archers down the drain way too easily. He's trying to get his archer numbers back up, but he needs to fall back behind his walls and garrison the archers that he's making right now, because now the scouts have +1 defense. Slam actually cancelled bloodlines, so Slam realized that his opponent has clicked up, and he's trying to click up himself. You could see that Slam clicked the bloodlines and then ended up cancelling it. The reason why is because he realized that his opponent is going up and he needs to click up as fast as possible. Still, this is like a pure 2 minutes window for Capoch to do damage, and more importantly for Capoch to add additional town centers. And I would love to see a TC here on this wood line, because you can't TC the outside wood line, at least not right now. So being able to TC the wood line here would allow him to have a very, very safe wood line. Castle Age is in for Capoch. And I'm somewhat surprised that he's not sending the archers forward. Okay, now he's moving out. He just wanted to wait until crossbowman. It looks like Slam will be looping around and trying to hit the back of Capoch's base. Capoch has a couple of defensive spearmen here, But I feel like Capoch is kind of not using the window that he's given here, as the scouts might be able to hit these vills. This could be a good one for Slam. This could be a very, very good one for Slam. Quick walls are coming in here for a red player. But this is going to be a couple more Veil kills for Slam here. Capoch having a rough time reacting to that one. The other TC will go up for Capoch without any problems, but that's going to be -4 Veils for Capoch, so he's gonna have to make up for his losses here with the crossbowman. Another defensive tower comes in here for Slam, and really, Slam is doing an excellent job just placing defensive towers to limit the movement of those crossbows. Slam killed 8 Veils in this game, only lost 2, so he's got an 8 Veil lead right now in this game, and that lead could grow even more, although now that Capoch has 2 TCs, Capoch will have a bit of a window to catch up, so that could be something to consider. Now with this Castle Age done, this is the moment where I said that I think Elite Skirms and the Teuton Knights will be able to snowball the game really, really nicely, and Britons can't even react with Monks here. So unlike in the previous game where Slam reacted with Monks to the Knights, that's not going to be a possibility here for Capoch, because Teutons are conversion resistant with their Knights, so this could be a big cleanup here. I think Slam is waiting for like, what, 10 Knights to pile up. He loses a Vil here on the farm, but he's waiting for +2 defense, he's waiting for the Knights to pile up, and then he will unleash them on top of those crossbows. Capoch actually regains his Vil count, so it's going to be even Vil count by the time Slam adds additional TCs. Speaking of Slam, he looks like he will be playing with 1 TC for a while, so you gotta wonder if he might add the 3rd stable soon and just go for an even more aggressive play, or maybe a forward siege workshop here right next to that destroyed pyramid, and just try to push these archer ranges with some rams or mangonels. That could also work out nicely. Capoch, it looks like he's withdrawing his crossbows for the time being. There's the siege workshop for Slam, as Capoch runs into the Knights of Slam here, and he's going to take some nice shots. Capoch actually went for a very, very eco-heavy approach. He's playing 3 TCs and no University Ballistics, so those crossbows aren't amazing, but it looks like these Knights could get trapped in here really, really easily thanks to the crossbows, and that's a disaster for Slam. Even though he takes down a couple of crossbows, this is not the type of fight that he wants to take. That's way too many crossbows for him to engage. Although, he's taking a fairly decent engagement, so this might actually have been pretty decent for Slam after all. He killed like 10 crossbows and only lost a handful of Knights, so maybe this was a better fight than I initially anticipated for Slam over there. KD is in the favor of Slam, Eco KD as well, but after all, as I said, we have 3 TCs for Capoch, and Capoch is heavy on stone. And I think on this map, if you are able to secure a castle in the opponent's face, that seals the deal. So you can definitely consider something like that, like if you have some map control, you can drop a forward castle. The scouts from Slam come back to hit the wood line of Capoch, and I think 1 or 2 more Vils could easily go down here. Vils fighting against that scout, but that scout has 3 melee armor and bloodlines, so it's going to be hard to kill, and indeed the first Vil goes down here. Capoch will just fight this one, and he still has 3 TCs over 1, so he will be able to replenish his Vil numbers without any problems. But still, at this point, the main question is what Slam can do to push Capoch's eco. He's doing the right thing here, taking down the archer ranges, and it looks like Capoch will have to rebuild those. But Capoch might just end up dropping a defensive castle to try and stop this one. Here comes the monks from Capoch, but as I said, he's up against Teutons, so getting conversions will be very, very hard against our blue player. Still, there's a massive difference between the 2 players, and that is that despite the fact that both of them are investing into military quite a bit, Capoch is booming on 3 TCs and Slam only has 1. So Capoch now has a 10 Vils lead, and that is just going to keep growing. And here comes the first castle. Considering he lost one of his ranges and he's not making crossbows on the other, it's very possible we're going to see longbows here from Capoch. It's a 1-for-1 mangonel trade over there, and that's going to end up being another 1-for-1. The mangonels will take down the monks though, so the knights won't get converted. Briton crossbows obviously have the range advantage here, but still, the mangonel finds a nice connection. Monks will get taken down here by the Knights of Slam, and this is an excellent fight for Slam here. It's a beautiful fight, in fact. Mops up most of those crossbows, and with that, he's gonna be able to push Capoch all the way back to his starting TC. It looks like we have a second range coming in here for Capoch. Nice ground attack over there for him, but he will still lose the mangonel. He's got the eco lead, but his army isn't impressing me. We're talking about 18 crossbows only. By the way, speaking of eco, he's got the villager lead, but he's still missing boso, so that's not ideal. He's still very, very heavy on stone, so there will be a second castle, and indeed it's longbowman time. The problem with longbowmen is that you need a lot of time to mess them. You see, they actually train quite slowly compared to crossbows. So you could get overrun by superior numbers if you only go for longbows. You have to keep adding crossbows and start adding longbows alongside them. Obviously, longbows in the long run will be way better than crossbows will be. But Capoch doesn't really have a super consistent wheel production, as now he's going for ballistics with University, another castle coming in here, and that quick wall comes in just in time for Capoch. He's gonna have to add maybe some stone walls behind, because those knights might try to get through those palisades, and I'm not sure if repair wheels will be enough to stop this one. The first wall goes down. This is a disaster for Capoch if they break through that wall, but it looks like Slam doesn't want to overcommit, and he will disengage upon seeing the crossbows. Still no ballistics for Capoch though, so these knights can just gallop away anytime they want to. Longbowmen now coming in here. Longbowmen will have the same range as crossbows in Castle Age, but they have a one better base attack, so they will be better in the long run than crossbows are. Capoch finally finds a few knight kills here. So Capoch's food eco isn't really great either, because it's under a lot of pressure, so that's one of the reasons why he is still very, very far away from Imperial here. The other reason is that he has been booming on free TCs. Slam has also gotten up to 3 town centers, but he's already behind by 26 wheels, so he's gonna have to actively kill Capoch here to have any chance at coming back in this game, because he's definitely on the back foot. It's 120 population against 83. Now, he's got the mobility advantage, and you should never underestimate those knights from Teutons looping around and hitting the eco. Although this castle is very well positioned for Capoch, it protects key resources, this gold mine, the back of the farming eco. So, I feel like Capoch can now play a more defensive game here and just sort of boom, because he knows he's got the advantage. All he needs to do is just not die. But Slam might have a few words to say about that. That's beautiful from Sam, look at that. He squeezes in the knights in between the wheels and the mining camp to get the maximum surface area for attacks. And look at that, that's 2, 4, 6, 7, 8 wheels down. If he just right-clicks this wheel, most of those wheels get away. But instead, he sandwiches his knights in between the wheels and the mining camp, and suddenly he finds 7 kills. That's exactly the type of fight that he needs to get back into this game. He is still behind by 13 wheels, but he's actually getting closer to Imperial, because he hasn't been adding a lot more military now. He's made a couple more knights, but his food eco has been very, very consistent and steady in comparison to Capoch's one. Capoch now getting the longbows out, and it looks like Capoch will also buy himself up to Imperial here. So Imperial Age times could be very, very close here for both players. So, longbow's now pushing up, and oh boy, Lord Doubts smile upon us. That could be a disaster for Slam, or not. For an ambulance, but not for me, says Slam, as he lands a big mangonel shot on top of those crossbows. The imp times are pretty much identical. Slam is still behind by 16 wheels, but the Teuton Cavalier will be very, very scary in Imperial, and even though Arbs will be there, I think that the Cavalier upgrade compared to a Knight is bigger than the Arb versus the crossbow. So as we get closer and closer to Imperial, it's going to be actually pretty brutal to fight against that. And look at that, Felix coming back. Indeed, still streaming, it's USA time zone. I would be sleeping if I was in Europe. The bigger question is why are you not sleeping? Because in Germany, it's 4 a.m. It's 4 a.m. in Germany, right? Oh boy. Thanks for the resub, by the way. I appreciate it a lot. Thank you so much. So, Cavalier will be coming in here for Slam. He's gonna have +1/+2. overall, as on the other side, Capoch has a reasonable amount of longbows now, and those longbows now start mattering because every single bit of damage extra that you can have is beautiful. So 6 damage base versus 5 is going to matter when it comes to dealing with Paladins. Same thing when you get to Imperial, although you're gonna have to squeeze in Elite Longbow as soon as possible, and that might be more challenging than squeezing in Arbs as an upgrade. Let's see, are we gonna have Halberdiers here? It doesn't seem like it. Capoch is just content to go with full archer play, adds another TC here on the right side, but this could be a very, very short-lived TC because Slam can take this hill here and fire down hills against this town center. That should be very much doable for him. Imperial Age is in for both players. The other thing to talk about is that right now, Capoch will be forced to make longbows on his castles, whereas Slam can use the castles to make trebs, and that's a massive difference. On the positive side, for Capoch, he's gonna have access to Warwolf trebs with Britons, so he technically has the ability to win all treb wars in this one. Why are we seeing longbows in this game? It feels like we never see longbows, just crossbow. Because it takes so much time to get longbows. Longbows are a better version of Arbs. You see that their base attack is actually better than crossbow base attack. But normally, it takes so much resources and time to get to a castle that you just see crossbows. If you see a very, very long game, you will see longbows. But in mid-game, you just don't see them because a castle is too expensive to just get it up for longbows. Jared Board, thank you so much for a prize sub, I believe. Thank you so much once again for a prime sub. So, speaking of longbows, we're gonna have a couple of traps here in the middle as Capoch will repair this castle. This is a very well positioned castle overall to hold this middle area. And now it looks like we'll have a Halberdier switch from Capoch. This is definitely the best and most balanced game so far from the entire set. It looks like now Slam will try to use his mobility advantage here and push on the right side. He will probably pick up a couple of vills here. Nice reactions from Capoch. He will still lose a few of them, but saves the majority of them. Left side, we also have a couple of Cavalier coming in, and Paladin is even clicked in by Slam. Paladin is a very, very expensive upgrade, so this has to be a big hit here for Slam, and he needs good Cavalier numbers even after the upgrade, otherwise that's gonna be a wasted investment. But once again, Slam is doing an excellent job cleaning up these gold miners. It seems like it is a very, very bad job to mine this gold mine. So Capoch is down to 100 vills, a very nice trade over there from Slam, and he finds these vills here as well. Another TC could go down, and Capoch is down to 93 vills. This is actually pretty challenging for Capoch because he's got the momentum in the push in the middle. He can just steamroll the base of Slam, and he's indeed dropping a forward castle. As Farland Mitch is also coming back. Thank you so much for 5 months of support. I appreciate that a lot as well. So you got a forward castle, and this direct push seems to be much stronger than what Slam could do. But Slam is doing a so good job with the raids that at this point I feel like Capoch's eco could collapse under the pressure from these raids. In exchange, Slam's eco could completely collapse from this push here. Those longbows, I think they're missing Yeoman still. Are they missing it? Yeah, they're missing it because 2 comes from the Age with the range, and you get 3 from Bracer, so they're still missing Yeoman. So now the trebs are out, also no Warwolf for those trebs. The good news for Capoch is that he's still massively ahead in army numbers, 65 compared to 24, and there is Paladins for Slam, but the numbers aren't super impressive. So just a couple of them over here. He's trying to get some more Paladins out here, but I think once Halberdier numbers increase for Capoch, those Paladins will have a tough time taking good engagements. Plus the longbows can shoot them from a so big distance that they will take down quite a lot of them before they can close the distance. Capoch, following the teachings of a fellow Argentinian player, still with only double bit axe in Imperial Age, loses the forward castle here. Still, as things stand, he's gonna be able to keep this blob of longbows alive. He's up to 40 longbows, still very, very limited amount of halberdiers. He's back to 102 vills, but for now, he will continue going for halbs. The tricky thing here for Teutons is that they don't have siege ram, they don't have onager. Well, they do have onagers. In fact, they have SOs, but Britons will snipe down the SOs very, very nicely. So SOs wouldn't do anything for Britons here. Rams are very underwhelming here from Teutons, so they're in a tricky position. They don't really have a good answer to those longbows. Is there a special mod for the explosion from the Trebs? No, it's not. It's totally standard. It's Capture 8, so it might be different from the game. I don't know. Capture uses a different rendering system, but that's not a mod at all. The mods I'm using are the small trees, no snow. There's an exclamation mark above idle wheels. That's a mod I'm using as well. But I don't use any like special graphics mods. So, still the problem for our red player is that he doesn't have the halberdier numbers. We have 13 hobs on the field only, and Slam is using the mobility advantage with the Paladins so well. Look at this. Slam killed 74 vills versus 12. Slam is just annihilating the vills of Capoch here. In exchange, Slam has no answer to this direct push. So, after all, that should still favor Capoch, because Capoch can slowly grind down these body numbers with hubs, whereas, as we discussed, there is zero chance for Slam to stop this army unless he sends in like 20 Paladins. 20 Paladins should clean this one up. So, I think that Capoch needs to be careful not to overextend, because 20 Paladins, as this entire thing is gone, Capoch back to 91 wills only, as the raids from Slam have been absolutely brutal. He killed 89 wills, only lost 16 in this game. But oh boy, here comes Slam. And this is the moment that he was waiting for. A nice little choke point here for Capoch, and it looks like Slam thinks twice before fighting this one. Look at that. He's just squeezing in all those longbows over there, but he will never be able to reach or leave here. And here come the Trebs! The Trebs are coming in. Slam is setting up the Trebs to try and take down those longbows. Imagine if those Trebs had Warwolf, this would be brutal, but even without that, they are able to eat up those longbows slow and steady. And Slam is up to 30 Paladins. Now we have Halberdiers from our red player, but that might be a little too late, and if we have a full Halberdier switch from Capoch, then we might even see Tonic Knights here from Slam. That would be some high level and super classy moves. So most of those longbows end up cleaning up, and now we have 30 Paladins on the field for Slam, as opposed to still better army numbers for Capoch, but it's mostly Halberdiers now, and longbows and mobility factor is going to be important here for Slam. It looks like Slam might be thinking about what is he up to? He's getting botkins, so it's not hand cannons. Is he just gonna go Elite Skirm here? Teuton Elite Skirms aren't amazing, they're missing Bracer, but it might still be sort of a solution against the Halberdiers of some sort. Or Onagers, that's the alternative. Now that there is very, very little longbows, Onagers start to become a thing here for Teutons. Slam sending all the Paladins to the left, and that's a big blob of Paladins. And they should be able to destroy TCs pretty easily. Map control seems to start becoming better and better for Slam, so he is securing the left side of the map. He technically could pick up free relics very, very easily here, something to pay attention for overall. And now he's going to dive in to that TC. Look at those Paladins just melting the TC here, as we will soon get to the main where the players are running out of gold. I have to say, I've never seen this map go into post-Imperial. So it's super rare to see this map run out of gold. This is technically one of the most aggressive Red Bull maps, and it usually ends in like mid-Castle Age at the latest. But this game actually goes into post-Imperial here. Daniel, thank you so much for a raid, I appreciate that. Hope you had a nice stream. We're casting a Capoch versus Slam showmatch here, which is part of Capoch's 24-hour stream. Hand cannons will be added into the party for Capoch and McCausland with the gift subs. Thank you so much for the gift. 10 gifted subs. McCausland, I appreciate that a lot. So this is the third game of an Empire Wars show match. They're using Red Bull settings, so they had Red Bull Civ Draft, and this is, I think, Slam's home map, which is Haboob. We have a Teutons versus Britons matchup overall. You got some bombard cannons out as well for Slam, although bombard cannons still get outranged by fully upgraded longbows. The longbows are still missing Yeoman, and I think there is an overchop here for Slam. Slam is not sending in any paladins there to Capoch's woodline, even though I think he could have had. Trap fight in the middle is still fairly even. Bombard cannons doing their best to snipe down Capoch's traps. That's going to be another trap going down, and now Capoch has his castle contested. And one thing to consider is that if you lose that castle, he will lose his longbowman production. He was building up his army on longbows most of the time. Bombard can also getting some nice shots in on them. So Paladins on the right side finding a couple of will kills, but now the Halberdiers will start chasing. Skirmishers being added here from Slam because he's running out of gold, and this is the moment where Britons start becoming way better once again, because without gold, Teutons have elite skirms without bracer, Teutons only have scouts, and they have great Halberdiers. In contrast, Britons at least have light calves, Britons have better elite skirms, Halberdiers are fairly even. In one-on-one fight, obviously a Teuton Halberdier wins thanks to extra melee armor, but yeah, the lack of even light cap for Teutons could hurt really badly here, as the map is completely out of gold. I honestly don't think that this map was designed to be played in late Imperial, because the amount of gold that's available on the map is fairly limited. I think when Krasini decided this map, or he designed it, he was like, okay, this is going to end in mid-castle age at latest, so we don't need a lot of extra gold. But guess what? These players are playing into post-imp. 47 minutes in an Empire Wars game, this would be an equivalent of a 1-hour game in a random map setting. Now elite skirms are out, no skirms just yet from Capoch. His castle is still under heavy pressure, but it looks like Slam might be disengaging here. We have Paladins once again coming in here. This is the final bits of gold left on the map, as Slam is doing his best to deny that one from his opponent. Capoch in exchange selling quite a decent amount of resources to get some more gold for himself, and he's going to lose one of those castles. Capoch is pop-capped, by the way, so he's got a huge army. It's just a matter of he's not able to use them anywhere else, because he's just chasing Paladins all day, all night with Halberdiers. Elite Skirm now coming in for Capoch as well. Looks like this is a great fight though for our blue player Slam, as the Bombard Cannons and the Elite Skirms are trying to chase down those longbows. Now those longbows are actually very, very expensive to lose, so you have to keep them alive. Slam also selling food as the market prices are completely bottomed out now. It looks like we're gonna have Halberdiers coming in, but I feel like Slam still has the momentum because he started transitioning to trash units so much earlier, and that's a disaster for Capoch there. He can't afford to lose those longbows to just skirmishers. He has a massive range advantage, so it's not super hard to keep those alive. Obviously, there's a lot of things to pay attention for, and now he's sending in Halberdiers to raid Slam's eco, but if he loses those longbows, he's gonna have zero leverage. And it looks like, look at Slam. Slam actually is still on just one relic, so he didn't bother picking up this one or this one, which is something that he could have done. But he's still sitting on 21 Paladins, which is probably by far the best unit right now on the field. So look at this move, that's actually very, very nice from Slam. He's using his skirms to try and snipe down the remaining longbows. Now light calf coming in from Capoch as a response to those skirmishers, but still, as long as those Paladins are alive, Slam should have the upper hand. When those go down, suddenly things could turn, and it looks like we'll have Halberdiers coming from every direction possible towards Slam's base to try and do some damage. Slam's got a lot of idols. He's consistently having 30 idols overall. Blast Furnace just now coming in for those hubs, and soon Light Cav, another castle on the way for Capoch. Still, skirmishers for Capoch will be intercepted here by the Paladins, and really, it's a matter of Slam keeping those Paladins alive, finding targets like this stone mine, for example, for himself, and then sending those Paladins back at home and healing them. A forward barracks coming in here from Capoch to try and contest this stone mine over here, as Slam once again finds a lot of wheels on the right side. No halberdiers here for Capoch to stop those. Both players with over 6 hours of idle eco. Still, the momentum seems to be on the side of Slam here, having a 3000 score lead as well, but it's more about being able to start taking down the opponent's base and forcing him backwards more and more. The army numbers are still there for Capoch. I just don't feel like he's got the power to stop this one right now, because he's constantly forced to chase this army of Paladins, and while he's chasing, he's losing ground in the middle. So Slam seems like he's slowly grinding this one down. The wood price isn't completely bottomed out just yet, but it soon will be. And now Slam is gonna have to run away. Losing some of those precious Paladins here is not ideal. He lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Paladins out of his group, so he's down to 13 Paladins, many of them being weak. So soon, Slam's Paladin blob is just going to be history. And I think Capoch is trying to assemble a light cav counterattack here. Here come the famous and well-renowned scout raids from our Teuton player. +4/+4 scouts. They look like this is one of the cutest thing in Age of Empires. Fully upgraded Imperial Age scouts. These guys have 5 melee armor still, +4/+4 in upgrades, but they're still just scouts. Now light cavs are coming in here for Capoch, but he's even missing +2 defense as he loses another castle here. On right side, it looks like some of the hubs are doing some work. It looks like Capoch will be able to clean up the remaining Paladins here for Slam. This could be a very, very long game, because it looks like neither side is willing to give up. And I feel like once the light cav numbers are good enough for Capoch, he might be able to launch a counterattack, but until then, Slam still has the momentum, and he just keeps killing wheels from Capoch. 140 wheel kills now for him, 56 on the other side. Do Teuton scouts beat the British light cav? Tough question. It's actually a close one, because Britain light cav is missing bloodlines, but they do have the extra HP still. Actually, it's 7/+4 with a maximum of 4 melee armor, as opposed to 5 HP higher, but 5/+4. No, I think that Britain light cav still wins. It's close. It's actually pretty close. I actually expected the Britain light cav to be better than what I thought it is, but it's pretty close one-on-one. But still, raiding potential-wise, the light cav are better because they have more damage output. So that's actually something to consider. They're able to put in so much more pressure. And speaking of pressure, this is what Capoch was preparing. A big ramp push on the left side would have been so good if he gets capped ram though, because these battering rams were more than underwhelming, and most of them just went down to the wheels here. Imagine if these were capped rams. Capoch actually had a nice idea here, but I just feel like he rushed this a little bit. Maybe he felt like he's in trouble and he needs to act right now, but he definitely distracted Slam here quite a bit, and that is going to result in a castle from Slam going down in the middle. So he's able to secure the front of his base, now adding more and more light cav. Still 145 population against 177. 2 relics for both players as things stand. As look at that TC for Capoch. That TC is right next to the opponent's base. As we'll have some more rams coming in here for our Britain player. The blacksmith goes down, and that is annoying for Capoch because he still doesn't have even +2 defense for his light cav. And even more importantly, he still doesn't have Boso. 1 hour into Empire Wars game and no Boso. It feels like this is a different Argentinian player playing on this account. because that feels like a little too late to my taste in comparison to Slam, who has 2-man Sol. So the eco-efficiency is definitely on the side of Slam here, and such small things can decide the outcome of games. So if I look at the overall wood count that was gathered, I would probably see way better numbers for Slam, and it looks like he finds a couple more paladins to raid with. As if he gets a couple of those inside the wood line or the farming eco here, he could definitely impact Capoch's eco quite heavily here. So, Rams push coming in once again, but you already got kept Rams out for Slam here to counterattack this side, and it looks like Slam will be able to clean up these barracks and the TC over here, and now I feel like Slam's got huge momentum, and there's just not enough light cav for Capoch here. We're talking about 8 light cavs with dubious defense upgrades. It's only +1 defense. Slam is securing the left side, and he is constantly 30 population ahead. Now it's 3 relics for Slam, 0 for his opponent, because Capoch lost his monastery here, so it's 3 to 0 relic count right now. Obviously 3 relics won't allow you to spam paladins endlessly, but it still gives you leverage over the opponent here, especially when it comes to getting Rams out. Because at this point I think you're investing your gold into siege. Some counterattacks are here by Capoch, but they're not doing enough damage here to compensate for the losses that Capoch is constantly suffering from. Nice move here with the light cap though to intercept those skirmishers, and a couple of Rams will go down as well. Slam is definitely ahead, but he sort of struggles to close this game out right now. So, still Capoch is missing critical upgrades, like the defense upgrades for his cavalry. Bo5 missing is a huge thing as well for him. At least he's got handcart, whereas Slam went for all possible upgrades that are available in this game. Fully maxed out cavalry, infantry armor, he's got Botkin as well, he's got ring archer armor. Everything that's available to be researched is something that he has already. Now moves in to try and find a couple of will kills here. Some halberdiers, and oh, look at this. This is the highlight of the game. A Teutonic Knight to deal with these halberdiers. Slam probably saw that he's getting raided really hard, and that was very underwhelming from the KP boy here. I was expecting more from him. I was expecting him to just go full Terminator and just annihilate all those hubs, but nope, this poor guy just got poked down. Is there a second one coming? Nope. No second Teutonic Knight. Still, at this point, Slam's got the army lead, Slam's got a consistent population lead, so 200 pop versus 163. And I just don't see the momentum here for Capoch. Like, he's surviving, but he's not getting anywhere closer to winning this game. So, especially if Slam is able to secure a bit more ground in the middle, he might be able to try and yoink those relics, and he could be up to 4 or 5 if he's able to secure some of those. Some light cav raids coming in here for Capoch. These are the things that he needed earlier, I believe. Because he definitely has better raiding potential with the light cav than his opponent has with the scouts. And let's be honest, one thing that Slam wasn't really doing is raiding after he lost his paladins. Obviously scouts are not ideal as raiding units, but you gotta do it. And Slam is losing his army here. Capoch's way back into this game could be full raid mode. He needs to completely collapse Slam's eco. We're in a post-team situation with full trash spam, which means that the core part of the gameplay is to just finish off the opponent's lumberjacks and farmers faster than you'll actually lose it all. Okay, so Teuton Scout kills Britain Light Cap 1v1. Alright. As I said, it's very close. But I can see that working, because they have 1 extra melee armor, they have lower attack, but they have a bit more HP. Still, one thing to consider, as I said, is that raiding unit-wise, the light cav is better because it has a more damage output than the scouts do. So, that's something to consider. I think this is standard conquest, and it's not time-based like Red Bull. So, they are using Red Bull settings, but the time limit is not something that the players employ unless it's actually the Red Bull tournament. And the reason why is because players don't like to play with time limit. I think the time limit would have been up in Red Bull already. I think the 700 years they employ in Red Bull is an equivalent of 52 or 57 minutes, I forgot. But something like that. It's definitely not over an hour. So, as things stand, come on, Capoch, grab at least Bosso. It tilts the hell out of me that you don't have Boso and chain barring armor when you are chopping wood with 30 and you're making light cav. It just feels so bad. Now we have some scout raids coming in here from Slam, the famous and well-renowned Teutonic scouts making an appearance on the left side. Slam's at 97 views, his opponent is at 112, but right now the only player that is raiding is Slam and not Capoch. Red Bull was 1 hour 15 minutes. They might have increased it. The first Red Bull I think was 52 minutes. They might have seen that it's a little too few in some cases, so they might have increased it a little bit. I honestly, like, whenever we have Red Bull, I always read the rules and I know the time limit, but when there is no Red Bulls, I just forget these numbers. But according to Warrior, they increased it. It makes some sense because the idea of a time limit is that you don't want endless stalemates, but you also don't want to end a game that is still actively going on with players fighting, right? Because, like, you don't want to end a good game before you would see the conclusion, but you also don't want stalemates. There was no time limit game wins in Red Bull 2. I don't think there was any in Red Bull 3 either. There were time limit wins in game or in Red Bull 1. I remember those. In fact, one of the main criticism was that there were quite a lot of time limit wins, and some of them ended up being complete camping at the end of the game. And Slam is down to 69 vills. So, despite the fact that Slam's army still convinces me a lot more, and Slam has a huge bank, Slam's got no eco. So, this is so interesting, because you look at this army for Slam. This is a big blob of death with skirms and halberdiers. And he's technically pop-capped with 140 army on the field. 140 army is crazy, man. On the other hand, he will have no tools of replenishing them once he loses all of them, other than the bank he is possessing. He's got a reasonable amount of resources in the bank, but that's all. So, if this push doesn't work out for Slam, he is dead. But this push is gonna be awfully hard for Capoch to stop, and indeed, Capoch taps out because he's about to lose that castle, and he just feels that he won't be able to fight this army, and he might be right. He's up against 106 army with only 37, and he doesn't really have the resources to replenish those. Remember this fight here, he actually took a fight without the defense upgrades, and still not even Boso. So if I look at the overall resources, 132k versus 117. Part of that is the lack of Boso, my man. Slam secures game number 3 here in a very long and grindy game, I have to say. This is definitely the longest game I've seen on this map ever. This is usually a map that is decided at least or at latest in mid to late Castle Age. Like, it usually ends with one player castle dropping the opponent, whoever has the map control. So, in most cases, this map is just super aggressive feudal age. One player loses more villas than the other, and that it snowballs out of control. This is one of those rare occasions where that didn't happen. And after all, Slam wins this game. And remember that Capoch lost most of his crossbows in early Castle Age, the first couple of nights, without doing that much damage. And Capoch had a huge eco lead for the majority of the game. Let's talk about that for a moment, because if you take a look at the timeline here, Capoch mostly had the eco lead compared to Slam, but the Slam was able to catch up, and imp timings were actually completely even overall from him. And after that, it's just Teuton's power versus Britons, and without gold, it seems like Teutons were just much better, because they have the halberdiers with the 5 melee armor. The elite skirms will be able to pick off the remaining archers of Capoch, and then Teuton light cav as a supplementary force. So, We're gonna have game number 4 up. We have Slam with a match point. Capoch won the previous game, but this one was a little too much for him in post-Imperial. The inefficiency in the eco and losing all those archers hurt quite badly. So Capoch loses Britons, and you got 2 turns gone for Slam. We're left with Slavs, Persians, Aztecs versus Huns, Japanese, Saracens. So I think Four Lakes is still one of the maps in the map pool. I'm unsure about the others. We have had Habub, we have had Winged. So I think we might be going for Four Lakes here. Let's see if we have a lobby or not. Yes, we do have a lobby, and it's Atacama. So this is the Red Bull version of Atacama, which means that we will have pawns in the corners, just like Four Lakes. Which means that we could have Huns here for Slam, and most likely Persians for Capoch. Aztecs is something I can imagine, although it feels a little bit unlikely. Slavs feels more likely, so Slavs or Persians, most likely Persians, versus, I believe, Huns, although Japanese could also sneak their way in there. But I think, honestly, if Four Lakes is still available for the players to pick as a home map, I'm not exactly sure about what maps they are intending to play, then probably you're gonna end up with Japanese on Four Lakes, Huns on Atacama, and Slavs will be used here for Atacama, and you will go Persians on Four Lakes. Alright, they are almost ready setting up the game. So we'll go to game number 4 over here, and this show match has delivered so far, so I had a feeling that this could be an interesting show match, and so far it is. The two players are fairly even in Empire Wars skill level, as things stand. By the way, it is right now very late in the evening on Saturday for me, but on Sunday at 16 GMT we will actually start Deathmatch World Cup 4. So I will be casting Deathmatch World Cup for most of the day tomorrow. We will have Viper versus Nilly to start the day with. It's going to be a super interesting set, I would say, in the MWC. We will see what we do after, but there is quite a lot of sets that will be interesting to cast. So tomorrow is Deathmatch World Cup day, most likely. But before that, let's get to Atacama. We have 40 seconds left from the countdown, and it looks like I was wrong with my predictions, because this is not Huns and not Slavs. We will have a Persians versus Saracens matchup over here. Saracens definitely a bit of a surprise pick over here for Atacama, and I'm not 100% sure what Slam actually wants to do with them, because this map is very, very scout heavy. So you gotta play Saracen scouts here. What I can imagine for Slam is that he's gonna try to play Saracen scouts and also use the market pretty heavily and try to buy himself up to Castle Age earlier than his opponent is able to, and then just try to finish off the game with early knights. That could be part of the game plan for our Canadian player, and it looks like Capture Age actually refuses to cooperate for the time being, so we gotta do some in-game casting in here once again. So welcome back to this Empire Wars show match. While Capture Age wakes up, we're going to have Capoch in... We're gonna have to change the colors. Give me a moment. Boom. So we're gonna have Slam as a blue on the left side, and Saracens right side will be Capoch in red Persians. And let's hope that we can get Capture Age back on track in a moment. So, indeed, here it goes. So, welcome back. Capoch will be red, and Slam will remain blue. Is this game watchable for AoE2.net? Yes, it is. Or at least you should be able to see it. Like, I can see it. It's a public lobby, so I think whoever wants to spectate it can spectate it, yes. Indeed, Slam goes for the early market here, selling all his stone. And in this case, the big question is that if he just goes for like a full Saracen market usage approach, so instead of establishing a well-designed food eco, he will just send 10 wheels on gold or maybe even stone and just buy the resources he needs, because that could be an interesting way of playing this map and trying to get an early castle age here, because this map can have extended feudal ages with a lot of scouts, micro, and control. So being able to get to castle age faster could be a nice advantage overall. Capoch tries to pick off a wheel on the gold mine, will be unsuccessful doing so, and it looks like both players will actually dog the corners. In Red Bull World 3, where one of the new additions to this map was the addition of pawns in the corners, it was a big debate if you should actually go for the pawns or not, and by the end of the tournament it was fairly obvious that it is usually worth it to go for the pawns, because the amount of food that you can get from them is just huge, and it looks like Capoch will go for 2 pawns in here. The players are not playing super aggressive over here, especially Slam. He's playing a much more defensive gameplay here, just going for a couple of scouts to defend, and he's out of sheep right next to his TC, and there is no straggler trees here. So this is the moment where we will see if he actually sends out some wheels to just gold and starts buying resources. Capoch isolates a wheel from the rest of the group. Slam saves it still with some quick walls, and it looks like now a spearman will be added by Slam to hold this one a little longer. Now we had some more scouts coming in here for Slam, and he's definitely going to be heavy on gold. This is why I think that he might just be trying to use the Saracen market to buy himself up to Castle Age, and once he's up to Castle, he wants to either add a couple of camels, but I would think that he will continue with Knights. Alternatively, Cav Archers can be an option for Saracens as well. Eco upgrade wise, look at this. By using the resources he got for selling the stone, Slam is actually able to get double bid-axe and horse collar. In comparison, Capoch goes very heavy on pawns, so he's got a 5-wheel lead already. However, he doesn't have any eco upgrades. So Capoch actually has a slightly stronger eco in terms of pure numbers. However, the efficiency of that eco is way weaker. It looks like those scouts will be able to loop around. Slam grabs Bloodlines now, and he's going for +1 defense as well, so his scouts will be way better. This is not a fight that Capoch can actually afford to take, and I think he knows that as well, so he will just disengage. Slam, as I said, is playing very defensive here, as he now starts buying himself up to Castle Age, or at least so it seems. He's gonna get some nice pokes in there on those scouts with this Spearman. You got a second pond up for Capoch, and he might be sending this wheel to the third pond here on the far left soon. Scouts will join the party alongside the Spearman here for Capoch, and that's a lot of Spearmen coming in here for him, meaning that this could be a good fight that he takes. This is not a fight that Slam wants to fight. We will have Voz up on the right side for Slam, so most of his base is very well protected now. He has done a beautiful job protecting his starting base. It looks like both players will reach Castle Age at approximately the same times, because Capoch clicks up right now, Slam will follow by a delay of a couple of seconds. So we will have the scouts from Slam now launching a counterattack, but there is a hole here for Slam. There is a hole, and this could be a disaster. These scouts don't have any upgrades, which helps a little bit for Slam. So he might not lose that many wheels, but there is going to be a couple of them going down here. Capoch finds a way to kill wheels. The good news for Slam is that he's also able to kill wheels, and this is going to be much harder for Capoch to clean up, because these scouts have +1 defense and bloodlines. So I feel like if Slam is able to send these light cav, or right now just scouts, into this wood line, then Capoch could be losing a lot of wheels. Overall, so far it has been 2 wheels killed from both sides, but it seems like Capoch is able to force a lot more idle time on the opponent as the third wheel goes down here for both sides. Still, look at these. These are bloodline scouts, so they obviously survive a lot more punishment than the standard scouts do. And now it very much seems like these scouts will have their life ended here in the next couple of seconds. They might find one more wheel kill, and indeed they do. That's very nice value there for Capoch, but Slam still has his scouts alive, and he could even think about the light cav upgrade if he preserves his numbers right now, although I have to say that he's not doing the best job at killing Vils here. There were way too many opportunities for him to kill Vils, and he kind of was unable to get any kind of damage done with those scouts. He killed 1 or 2 Vils, but given the fact that he had like 10 bloodline scouts here, this could have been a lot more Vils killed. So Slam up to Castle Age, he's going to drop a town center here on the wood line, and we could be in for another long game here. Slam with only 5 fishing ships as opposed to Capoch having 7 on the right hand side pond and 2 on the left side one. So it looks like Capoch is actually much heavier on the fishing department. It looks like another wheel could go down here from Slam, as now he's adding camos to deal with those knights. Still, Capoch is probably going to be able to take down one more Vil here, and that doesn't look that great for Slam, who really wasn't able to get anything for these scouts. It looks like he's not upgrading them to light cav. He was just unable to hit this part of the opponent's eco, and now we will get to Camel Wars, because both civilizations have access to camels here. Still, very limited amount of upgrades for Capoch, whereas Slam has way better eco upgrades. Capoch actually ends up not contesting the left-hand side pond. He had a Vil that could have walked over there, but he ended up just doing shore fishing on the southern pond for the time being. Second TC coming in here for both players, and as I said, we could be in for a very long game here. So the camos will end up cleaning up the light cavalry that remain from Feudal Age. It is right now 9 camos versus 6. You will have just +1 defense for Slam. On the other side, you already have +1, +2, so the upgrades are much better for Capoch over here. And remember that he has faster working TCs and docks as well. So that helps quite a bit when it comes to establishing your eco for the next stage of the game. Slam, on the other hand, massive market usage once again, tries to buy himself forging, but at this point, Capoch is securing more and more map control. He's got a 7 Vils lead, and these TCs are very hard to destroy, so Capoch will definitely be able to control the middle quite nicely with those TCs. You will have husbandry coming in for Capoch in an effort to try and chase down the opponent's cavalry, because he's got the better cavalry overall. Numbers are slightly better for Slam, but the difference is not that big. It is 2 TCs right now for Slam. We will have monasteries coming in from both sides to try and get a couple of conversions and swing the battle in the favor of whichever player is successful with the conversions. But it's now 3 TCs plus 2 dogs for Capoch, and Slam is only playing with 1 dog and 2 TCs. So once again, the eco advantage should be on the side of Capoch, just like in the previous game. Indeed, the Saracen camos have some extra HP. They have 130 max HP against 120. And now that there is +1 attack in, this might actually be better for Slam. But before +1 attack was in, the upgrades were just way better for Capoch's camos. It is worth pointing out that Slam doesn't have a huge amount of wood under his control, so he will soon have to expand over here or so, and this is a very thin layer of wood in comparison to what Capoch has access to, so Slam is soon going to have to get to somewhere around over here, or preferably over here, and because of that, if you take a look at Capoch's TC placement, he's controlling the majority of the wood in the middle. Now we're gonna have a Vil coming in on the left side, trying to get a dock up, but Capoch just sends it to the shorefish, and the Vil starts walking back with fish in his hand. That's very annoying when it happens to players. It's because the players have something better to do, like building up their eco, controlling their army, so they don't pay attention to the Vil they send forward to the fish, and this Vil is actually going to take the shorefish all the way back to this TC, or at least that was the plan, and now Capoch is going to lose that Vil. Such small things can matter because Capoch actually planned to try and push this pond here and prevent Slam from establishing a fishing eco over there. Nice use of the light caps here for Slam, picking off the monk. And one thing to consider is that Slam is mining stone, and Well, Saracens can definitely just sell their stone, but you can also buy that stone and Slam wants a castle. That's the other thing that you can do. Because Saracens can either sell that stone for resources or buy stone and drop a castle, and I don't necessarily see Capoch being able to stop this one, and if this castle goes up, this is an extremely good castle, and look at this. This castle blocks this crossing entirely. So there's absolutely no tools for Capoch to stop that castle, and if that goes up, suddenly Capoch's wood income is in disaster. Because he's gonna have to walk all the way down here for wood or all the way down here. And I think if Slam just keeps a couple more villas on stone, he can think about a second castle in the foreseeable future. The castle will start taking down that TC. It's going to take quite a lot of time until that goes down. But this is definitely a nice advantage now here for Slam in the middle. There's an 18 villas lead in the favor of Capoch, but he's gonna have to relocate his wood lines really fast as he's teching into pikemen against the opponent's camels. Slam might find a couple of vill kills here as the army of Capoch closes in. Indeed, 3 vills go down in exchange for what's gonna be 0 camel skill. That was nice value there for Slam. And with pikemen coming out, you can think about adding crossbows here now for Slam, because eventually that's something that you could be thinking about as Saracens. Alternative could be Mamelukes as well, although I wouldn't be a big fan of that, to be honest. Still, you will need some sort of answer to the pikemen, like Cav Archer, Crossbow, Mameluke, Swordsman, whatever. So, Iron Casting now coming in for Slam, and honestly, with those resources and the help of the Saracen market, you could think about going into Imp. Because if you grab Imperial Age here, you could get traps out and they could start taking down those buildings really fast. I think Capoch is also thinking about imping, and he's 13 on stone. So Capoch will try to drop a counter castle, most likely somewhere around over here or here. And then Capoch wants to go into Imperial and trap that castle down. That's the plan here for our red player. Indeed, he is about to click into Imperial approximately at the same time as Slam will click. Right now, Capoch has a 14 villas lead, but Slam might once again find a nice raiding opportunity because Capoch moved out to the left side to try and do some raiding damage, but he failed to do so. And now in exchange, Slam is able to do a much better raid than what he was supposed to be able to. That's an excellent raid for Slam. Look at that, that was like 10 villas killed. And that's exactly what Slam needed to even out the vill count. Now it is 87 to 90. Pretty much even. Imperial Age slightly faster here for Capoch, but this is the moment where you switch into Arbalest, because in early game on this map you need mobility with scouts, but late game it starts to shift more and more towards the slow and aggressive plays in the middle. And since your opponent is full camels and pikemen, crossbows and arbalest could do a lot of damage here. You can already see Botkin Arrow coming in here. Slam is gonna have approximately 15-ish crossbows, or by the time he reaches Imperial, and he could find a couple more vill kills here. Very, very nice move from him to find that stone mine. So he's active with his camels, he's trying to do his best to get some raiding damage in. And I feel like Capoch is underestimating the potential of an arbalest switch. He has shown his pikemen to the opponent, and Capoch is still attacking into pikemen, so Capoch wants to play this one with full pike, but that is very, very awkward if you think about the fact that your opponent can switch into crossbows very, very easily. He might be lucky enough to spot those archer ranges when he starts raiding this side, and that could be an alarming sight for him. Indeed, Capoch sees the ranges. This is extremely important because he wanted to go pikemen, but now he sees his opponent is going into crossbows, so he's gonna have to change his mind. No crossbow upgrade just yet for Slam. He's still missing a lot of upgrades overall, as now Slam is gonna have to fall back with his camels. This DC is almost guaranteed to go down, and as I did mention, Capoch will get a castle up here, and you're gonna start trapping down this castle. Slam is going to do the exact same thing. Tumbling just now coming in here. For him, he's gonna be at 10 crossbows, soon to be arbs. Now it looks like as these camels start becoming more and more obsolete, you will see much more committed raids from both sides. Capoch will try to get some vill kills here on the left side. He will find one, but he won't find more most likely for the time being. Now, Slam and Capoch are very, very close in eco. This TC will definitely go down from Capoch, but he already has the first trap out. Slam is also making the first trap. Very fast chemistry from Slam here. That is because he wants to get some bombard cannons out, probably, to try and fight those traps. And a castle drop from Capoch on the left side of the map, meaning that Slam's wood income could also be in trouble here. So that is definitely something to consider. It looks like, after all, Slam is going to tech into heavy camo, so it's going to be heavy camo and Arb. However, as things stand, Slam is about to lose this castle because he's gonna be up against 2 trebs, soon to be free, I believe, from Capoch, and there's another castle here as well. So Slam is gonna be in a tough spot to try and make sure that he still secures control over the middle, and now it looks like Capoch will go for crossbows himself. In that case, the idea is going for Commanderan crossbows. Slam trying to repair that castle, second trap comes out for him. Capoch just now adding trap number 3, and there's a bombard cannon for Slam. That bombard cannon might come just in time to save this castle here. And there is heavy camos. The heavy camos could also consider diving in to try and snipe those traps, and that's a mistake. Cavalier from Capoch. Maybe he's not expecting heavy camo, but now that he sees the heavy camo, he has to cancel that. Going heavy camo or going for Cavalier against Saracens that have heavy camo is one of the worst possible things that you can do. Saracen heavy camo is not a joke, especially if they grab Zealotry. So heavy camo Arbalest would be a very, very good composition here for our blue player. And as I said, Capoch needs to cancel Cavalier. He can't do anything. Like, Cavalier Halb is way inferior to Camo and Arbalest, to be honest. Although it depends on numbers, obviously. But I feel like Cavalier wouldn't do much here. And now these Camos can just dive in on those woodline wheels. And as Capoch is distracted, Slam sends in the bombard cannon. The first trap could go down as Capoch already lost the castle on the left side. This is a disaster for him now. First trap goes down and he's just a little too slow reacting to that bombard cannon. He still hasn't reacted anything, and another trap could go down, meaning that as things stand, Slam is gonna be able to keep that castle alive. We are, I think, getting closer and closer to Slam securing this game, because he's doing a much better job pushing the middle than Capoch did. He took down 2 castles with only 1 for his side. That is a very, very nice accomplishment. So right now a lot of wheels on wood are here for Capoch, and you can start sending in some orbs here for Slam and try to pick those off. That's the only reliable wood income here for Capoch, as we are gonna have all those wheels going down. This game is looking really, really rough for Capoch, and the problem is that his grand plan is that he's going to have Cavalier, but Cavalier won't beat heavy camos here. Cavalier and Halberdiers might be able to, but I still think, as I said, that heavy camo plus Arbalest should be able to win this one. We got on the north a castle from Capoch being dropped in the face of Slam's TC. So, herbal medicine! Slam is getting herbal medicine! I mean, it's not necessarily an awful upgrade if you think about garrisoning your camos inside castles, but when was the last time you saw herbal medicine being researched in a competitive game? I don't even think I've ever seen herbal medicine being researched in competitive Age of Empires. Now, here's the deal. This could be a good fight for Capoch if he's able to get the Halberdiers to hit the camos. Camos are still without Zealotry, and the Arbalest numbers aren't necessarily amazing. Nice micro there from Slam, though, to keep away the camos from the hubs, and that is an excellent fight, I would say, for Slam. He's able to use the Arbs against the hubs and the camos versus the Cavaliers, and that is the result. Nice unit control over there for Slam. And we are gonna have most of the army here from Capoch cleaned up. Capoch is down to 12 army. So, as things stand, I just don't know what Capoch can do here, because that's gonna be another castle coming in here. That's super aggressive castle from Slam. Might be overly aggressive, I have to say, but at this point, I feel like the lack of control in the middle is going to hurt really badly for Capoch, and this castle is going up because Capoch has no army to stop this one. So we're gonna have the castle coming in here for Salam. Indeed, it goes up. He will get a trap out here on this hill and start trapping down that other castle. And this castle can even range the stone mine of Capoch here. And yeah, I just feel like there is no momentum here for Capoch. He doesn't really have the answer to the Arbalest. He doesn't really have the control over the middle. So right now, he is kind of forced to take wood from these little patches of trees, which is obviously far from ideal. Another castle could go down here for Capoch, and I mean, if you just look at the score, I think it tells the whole story of the game. It is 12,000 score versus 7k. I think in this case, the score is not lying. That's actually a legitimate advantage for Slam. He has had a much better game in here, and I think he used his best, or he used Saracens the best way possible. That was a little bit sloppy losing 2 bombard cannons there. Still, light cav now will be mixed in for Slam. Saracen's actually a pretty decent hussar, so that is something that he can use as a raiding unit, although his food will count is a little too low. He's at 53 on wood, and Slam buying another castle here. I just feel like Capoch right now is just a decision away from resigning. He's trying his best to get cavalier numbers on the field, but replenishing those feels like it's impossible. He's 19 on food. If he loses this army here, it's over, and I don't think that he has enough army to push Slam off enough. He's just waiting to mass a big army and then try to take a decisive fight to crawl back into the game, but that just seems very, very unlikely. Fun fact about Atacama, Red Bull Volo 2, Atacama was the final game between MBL and Capoch. That was the first tournament that Capoch played after his return into competitive Age of Vampires, and that's where he got a lot of fans from the new viewers, where he defeated MBL on that Atacama game, and I think ended up winning this series 3-2. This time, he's going to lose Atacama versus Slam. Slam is a very, very convincing series, with some close games, I have to say. The Arabia game was a little one-sided towards Slam, but the winged game was very good, although it was quite heavily favoring Capoch. And then the last 2 games were super competitive. It was very, very back and forth on the previous game on Haboob, and also now on Atacama. Why Cavalier for Capoch? Good question. I have no explanation. I think he should have cancelled Cavalier when he saw the Heavy Camel. It's just tricky because you don't have a good army composition to deal with Arbalest Heavy Camel. Maybe he felt like he can actually use Cavalier Halberdier and just try to get a good micro in and surround the Arbalest with the Cavalier and then use the Halberdier against the Camels. That's my theory for this one. So, GG's, Slam wins this show match, and with that, he's going to defeat Capoch 3-1 in this Empire show match.